One of the questions that I constantly ask myself is about my own need for community, for connection, for belonging. We talk about those things a lot at church, and yet often they can sound so, how would I call it? Kind of highfalutin or sounds so kind of churchy at times. No, I'm asking myself my own need to have that human-to-human interaction, my own need to be part of something larger than me, my own need to feel connected. And there are different layers to that, right? There's a layer that's around our kind of family life, but my family life is shifting too as my young adult children get older and go on with their lives. So that's shifting, isn't it? So there are questions there about what does that family life look like? Maybe you too are going through that. Maybe there's a new baby in your family, or maybe someone has become married or partnered, or maybe someone has retired, or maybe someone has shifted jobs, or whatever that circumstance is. Family life, that basic communal life, shifts with time, and you should every now and then wonder about it. But then there are other layers to it, right? How about neighbors, right? How am I connecting to neighbors and to that community? Do I know them? Recently, I was driving down 23rd Street and encountered one of my neighbors. And I had that moment where I thought, oh, like, who cares? I'm just going to go drive into my driveway and just get in the house. But I just slowed down long enough and lowered my window and said, hey, how are you? A moment of connection. I'm glad I did that, but it still felt a little weird, to be honest, even though we've seen one another a lot. Our neighbors. How about coworkers? We spend so much time with these folk in the day ins and day outs of work. Do we do much more than just share emails and text messages and Slack notes? Is there like a moment in your day where you have a water cooler conversation about family and the weather and what's happening in your life and in their life? How about faith community? Oh, what we call the church. What about that? The people maybe that you sit close to in the pews. I mean, do you like come in and sit there and then like kind of stay in your lane there? Or are you curious about the person, 2 pews down or a pew up? Or across the center aisle? What does it look like to live life together in community? It is pivotal to what it means to be human. In other words, we're social animals. We're not meant to live in isolation. In fact, we actually, in isolation, we cannot flourish. In isolation, we struggle. In isolation, we are unable to live the fullness of human life. And so we're meant for community. But what does that look like for us today? What's the good news in light of that reality for us? Writer and thinker Peter Block reminds us that we need this community for human flourishing, but not just any community, but that we together must be accountable to the kind of strong and connected community that humans need. Accountable to a strong and connected community. Accountable. Now, that word at times scares me too. What does it mean to be accountable? What it means to me is that we should be willing to be committed and have a duty to one another in a deep way. And accountability means that there are markers to what it looks like to live life together in this kind of strong community. In Romans 12, our text for today gives us what I like to call some initial markers of what this strong community of people looks like. What does it look like? And it says, for example, this kind of strong and connected community, is rooted at first and foremost with a kind of genuine love. Genuine love. The love that God shows towards humanity and creation. The love that connects us and that weaves us together. The love that sustains all things. The kind of love that helps us even love enemy. That is the cornerstone of this kind of community. And then that has some effects, as Romans 12 tells us. It reminds us that we should serve one another in this way. We should be zealous about one another. We should be connected to the Spirit, it tells us. And we should be rejoicing and being patient. And we should pray together, have practices of shared life together. And we should contribute to the needs of one another and extend hospitality. All of these are an extension of this love. It's this love made flesh that requires us to know each other, to be curious about each other's lives. It requires us to make an investment into how our sibling next to us is doing in their life. And knowing that actually our futures are woven together in a deep way. So, we together care for one another. We together pay attention. We together are able to practice a kind of kinship where we practice this interdependence together. But then, in the midst of the difficulties of life, there are a few other practices, ways of being that we must keep accountable to. And one of this it says to bless those who persecute us, to rejoice with those who rejoice, to weep with those who weep, to live in harmony with one another. It's easy to get disconnected. I know we're all a bit overwhelmed these days, but the reality of it is that when we feel overwhelmed, we sometimes disconnect from one another. I mean, I would want to stick my head in the sand and hope that all that's going wrong in the world gets better by pure magic, that magical thinking that sometimes preserves my sanity. But it's calling us to a different thing. It's calling us to rejoice with those who rejoice, to celebrate each other, but also to weep with those who weep, to struggle alongside those who struggle, to bring ourselves in an empathetic way with those who suffer. There's some key way in that kind of kinship and solidarity that transforms our hearts. Imagine you in your worst moment, having someone come alongside you, not with wisdom and platitudes and cliches, but with presence, with love, with attention, with spirit. It changes everything. And then we are called to not repay anyone evil for evil together. And if it's possible, to live peaceably with everyone. And peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is wholeness and healing and integrity. To live peaceably with anyone is to seek the good of all of those around us. To seek the kind of good that we want for ourselves, the kind of flourishing that we want for ourselves. And so this, if we keep tabs on it, this kind of accountability, an accountability to a way of loving, an accountability to a way of hospitality, an accountability to the way of solidarity, an accountability to the way of peace, this then allows us to create that strong and connected community that leads us into human flourishing. That strong and connected community that Christ invites us into as the baptized ones. That strong and connected community that leads to human flourishing way beyond our faith expressions into the expressions of the good life for us and for our neighbor and for the world, for those unlike us and those like us, for those on the margins that we cannot even understand. This kind of strong and connected community, fueled by the power of the Spirit, fueled by love, fueled by solidarity, fueled by connectedness and peace. This kind of way, it's not easy. But boy, in these days, it might just be the most salvific activity we might do together. You are made by the image of God. You are made to live life in community. Our shared flourishing depends on it. So my invitation today is for you to look around, to take a walk today and greet a neighbor. My invitation for you is to pick up the phone and call the Hope House and say, oh, I want to go and meet neighbor there. My invitation is for you to, maybe it's been a long time since you've come into the doors of First-Plymouth in person. Maybe this is your moment. This week you're watching this and you hear the Spirit's call to get in your vehicle and attend worship here in person and meet some folks and shake their hands and eat the cookies and drink the coffee and pat someone on the back. Or maybe you're not in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you're watching us from afar. Get to the Yellow Pages or to the Google and find a community that's gathering in the name of Jesus or in the name of love, and go show up. Make yourself known and present, and go practice the solidarity that the world needs. Oh, friends, the peace, the love, the solidarity, the connection, the hospitality, the human connection. The kind of community that the world needs. This is the kind of living that will help the world's hurts, no matter how big they are. Let us go and be this community.